and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Hannah. I am currently a high school science teacher in the state of Florida. However, before I decided to get into teaching science, I was a marine biologist, and as y'all know if you watched my previous video, I was actually an observer in the state of Alaska, and I've actually been getting a ton of response from that video. A lot of people have found my Instagram at the Blissful Biologist, and they've messaged me asking me like for more specific questions. My video about working as an observer in Alaska was much more like a story time, going into kind of like what my experience was like, but they have a lot of like realistic questions about like kind of what it's like. So I wrote down some of the questions that people were asking me on my iPad, and I figured I would just go through them, provide y'all with the answers, and I really hope this is helpful. I remember when I was getting ready to be an observer and fly to Alaska, like I felt like I was searching everywhere on the internet for these things and couldn't find them. I felt like YouTube didn't have anything, which is shocking. So I just want to make sure you guys have these types of resources before you make the decisions that you're gonna make, or pack. It's exciting. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on is the interview. If you do interview for these companies, it's very relaxed. Normally they're just trying to see, are they competent, are they normal, do they have some sort of sampling experience. Easy peasy. Now, the trick is a lot of these programs, well, it's not a trick, but the catch is that a lot of these programs, they are in Alaska. Other observer programs are in, I believe, Washington, the East Coast. I think there's some in Hawaii, and each one has their own set of trials and tribulations. But I worked in Alaska, and kind of the catch of it was, if you interviewed for the job, got the job, you had to purchase your plane ticket to Kodiak, Alaska, which was fairly expensive. I believe mine was $1,000. This is a non-refundable ticket. You were just buying your ticket there. And the other trick is the first 2 weeks, at least for my program, I did the king crab fishing as an observer. So like the boats on Deadliest catch, I was an observer on there. So the trick behind that is that you have to go through a training for 2 weeks, and this training, it covers anything from crab identification to crab disease, how to fill out the paperwork, safety, what to expect on your boat. Like, it's just a 2-week crash course of everything. Now, you have to pass a test at the end of this training period. So you have to pass the test, I believe, just like a regular 70%, and you pass. I can't be for sure, but it's a long test. It's like a multiple choice, answering questions, and then it's like filling out all the paperwork. It's a crab identification, like it's a full thing. Now, if you do not pass the test, you do not get paid for the 2 weeks that you were just there. And that's kind of it. They're kind of like, okay, cool, didn't work out, sorry. So you're out however much it cost you to get to Kodiak, and now you are stuck in Kodiak, and you have to stay there until you can get a flight out. Yikes. So it actually is really important to study and nail that. I actually passed, yay me. And so what happens is you flow into Kodiak, you've done your 2-week training. If you do pass, they do cut you a paycheck of like a per diem style for the 2 weeks that you were there. So that all works out. You will pretty much immediately fly to Dutch Harbor. I think we literally flew out to Dutch Harbor the very next day. And that's when you get your boat assignments. Our boat assignments were based on how we did on our test. So like whoever got the highest score got the first boat assignment, then the second highest score got the next one, so on and so forth. I got the highest score, which I'm a nerd, but normally I'm not that smart. I like school, I love studying, but normally I don't test super well, so that was kind of a fun surprise. So we get to Dutch Harbor, and that flight is crazy. It's a 3-hour flight on a plane going to Dutch Harbor. It's a very interesting flight because there is a few flights I think that go to Dutch Harbor throughout the day, but there are so many people that are trying to get to Dutch Harbor during fishing season that often the planes will be overcrowded, things will be delayed, you'll get pushed back to the next day or the next day or the next day, or your luggage will get pushed back to the next day and the next day and the next day. It once took me 3 days to get my luggage, so maybe I flew out, but my stuff didn't get there for 3 more additional days. So that is definitely to be expected. As an observer, you're going to have a ton of stuff. I packed a duffel bag. I'll go over exactly what I packed in a minute in that duffel bag. The observer program gives you 2 giant Pelican cases, not giant, but like yay big. And you have your survival suit, which is basically if the boat were to sink, you have to put it on. It is Coast Guard required, so that's another big bag. So you have your duffel bag, 2 Pelican cases, and the observer bag. What I will say about that is you have to pay the fees to have that extra luggage sent. So it is what it is. They never reimbursed me for it. Maybe they do now, but luggage fees of like $50 to $150 based on what airport I was in, because I had to pay for 3 additional bags to come with me. So you get to Dutch Harbor, hopefully all your stuff makes it. If it doesn't, usually it gets there within the week. Now, the very first thing you'll notice once you land in Dutch Harbor is it has no cell phone service. So I personally have AT&T. I was there in the year 2017. I was there in the year 2017 and I got off and my phone got service maybe in 2 spots of all of Dutch Harbor, and it was like just super tiny bit of service. So like regular phone carriers are not going to get service in Dutch Harbor. Everyone up there has a phone cellular provider called Netgear, which I had never heard of. So basically, once you get to Dutch Harbor, prepare not to have any cell phone service. The other thing they did not have was Wi-Fi. There was only the library had Wi-Fi, and it's kind of a trek to get there. So, and it's super slow. So prepared to have no cell phone service once you get there and no Wi-Fi. Dutch Harbor, hopefully you won't be there very long. It's just a tiny commercial fishing island. That's kind of it. You just get there and you're basically there until you can get assigned on a boat. I've been in Dutch Harbor as long as like 2 weeks. I've been there for 20 minutes. It just depends on how quickly you're getting on a boat. So you get to Dutch Harbor, you go to an observer house. Your company will normally own a home in Dutch Harbor, Alaska, and it's just like, you know, bunk beds, just style for you to come in, set up camp in your sleeping bag, be there for however long, and then hit the road again. Like I said, it's pretty boring. No cell phone service, no Wi-Fi. You really need to be careful with like your public image, just because you are going to be getting on a boat and kind of telling the captain and crew like, hey, this is safe, hey, this is not safe, these crabs are illegal, these crabs are safe to keep. So I tried to maintain a more professional image, or not professional image, but I chose not to tarnish it with inappropriate behaviors. That might be a nice way to put it. So I flew to Dutch Harbor, was there, I think the first time I was just there for 3 days, got my boat assignment, which is through Alaska Fish and Game, and then I went to go get on my boat. Okay, so you get on your boat. Now the thing that's kind of funny about getting on these boats is there's no ladder, like there's no steps. I know that sounds so funny, but there are no steps to get on these boats. So you literally sometimes have like just a construction ladder leaning up the side of it, and you have to scale it with all your bags. So be nice to your crew and hope they help you carry your bags up the ladder, because it's intense. Now, the thing about being in Alaska is the water is cold. If you fall in the water, here's the dock, here's your boat. If you fall in the water, the boat smashes up against the dock with every wave, you get crushed. There has honestly been a few observers that this has happened to. It's super sad and unfortunate, but it is what it is. So like getting onto the boats is no joke. I didn't even think about that. So step ladder, be nice to the crew, so hopefully they will carry you or carry your bags onto the boat or help you get them up over into the boat. Yes, so now you are on the boat. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna walk around and do like a safety inspection. There's like, they'll give you a checklist of all the things you need to check for, and if they're safe, then you are ready. Ooh, ready to go sailing. Sorry, I broke this finger, I think, so I can't like, you are ready to go out to sea. So someone asked me like, how long are you at sea versus how long are you at land, blah, 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 stuff like that. That's probably the most common question. I will say this, it depends on what type of fishing you're doing. For crab fishing, the crab have to get delivered alive for the most part. They have to be delivered alive back to the port. Crab can survive in the hold of the boat for 2 weeks. So we boat out, fish, boat back every 2 weeks. But when I say you are back at port, it's not necessarily for 24 hours. It's not necessarily for 20 minutes. Like, it can literally be anything. I've been at port for 2 days, and I've been at port for literally, the boat pulls up, the guys offload everything, and then we just turn right back around and go, didn't even know we made it to port. So it just depends. Expect 2 weeks away, anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 days at port. Now, the other thing that I did not understand before I became an observer is when you go to port, you're not necessarily going back to Dutch Harbor. You could be going to a wide variety of islands. One of those islands is called St. Paul, I believe, and I think, I could be so wrong, it was like 250 miles north of Dutch Harbor. It is a tiny, tiny island in the middle of the ocean with nothing around. I think the closest island was Dutch Harbor, 200 plus miles away. There is 89 indigenous people that live on this island. So this is not a Wi-Fi time. There was no internet. I mean, this was, you might have come to shore, but there's no Wi-Fi. There's no cell phone service. There's no stores. All there is like miscellaneous houses made out of plywood for the 80 indigenous residents who don't speak English. So port is not quite always what you imagine it to be, per se. And your boat will literally just come to port, go back out fishing 2 weeks, come to port, go back out fishing for 2 weeks, over and over and over again until you guys catch their quota. So all the boats are allotted X amount of fish or X amount of crab per year. Once they hit that amount, they're gonna drop you off at whatever port they were dropping off to. So my boat might have left from Dutch Harbor, but they dropped me off in St. Paul, which only has an airplane that goes to it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that's it. And it's like a 12-person plane, so hopefully you get on it. So you could be out there for 2 weeks if your guys are literally superstars or have a tiny quota, or you could be out there for months until they catch them all. A lot of people keep asking me about boat accommodations, and I don't want to say I like laugh, but like I read the questions and I'm like, oh, if only they knew. Like people are like, oh, is there Wi-Fi on the boat? Is there a phone? No, 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 no. You were in the middle of the Bering Sea. There is none of that. There was one super fancy boat I was on and it claimed to have Wi-Fi. I think it's literally like the captain's internet, which is specifically for like showing his location and communicating with the Coast Guard. Like this is, your Instagram, any app on your phone would never load, ever. They asked me about doing laundry on the boat. No. Some boats have a washer and dryer, but washers require fresh water, and normally there's a limited amount of fresh water on the boat, so it's not very polite to do your laundry while out at sea, and a lot of boats just straight up won't allow it. The other thing people ask me, and oh my god, I felt so disgusting telling them this answer, is like, well, what about taking showers? Showers also require fresh water. I got to take a shower every 2 weeks when I was out with my boats, just because they didn't want us using our fresh water while we were out at sea, because once it's gone, we're not getting it back. And as the observer, you were like one of the lowest people on the boat, so we get back to shore and all the guys are gonna shower before you, and then you can shower. Yay. So once you get back to port, that's the time to do laundry and it's the time to shower. So cross your fingers. I mean, some other boats might have more fresh water, but honestly, usually the seas are so rough, I don't even know how you would take a shower anyway. Oh, a lot of people ask about sleeping accommodations. Every single boat I have been on, the observer is sharing their room with, if not one fisherman, 3 fishermen. So I was in a room that was just like a single bunk bed with me and a fisherman, and then another boat I was in a room with 2 bunk beds, me and 3 other fishermen. So you're not gonna have any privacy. You are going to be sharing a room with these guys, so you will never have a moment alone. And the other but if it does make you feel better, every boat I worked on, none of the boats ever like closed their bedroom door, so we could all kind of see each other at nighttime, so there's no like funny business happening. I don't know what the point of that was, but just so you know, it's not like you're closing the door and locking yourself in with some random guy for 2 weeks. But do expect to share a room with men. A lot of people ask me if the boats are clean. Depends on the crew. I mean, that's just totally up to the crew. If they are a crew that prioritizes cleanliness, that's awesome. If they don't, they don't. And the boat's just gonna be disgusting. And that's kind of, and it is what it is, and you're not gonna change it. The boat, remember, the boat is their home. And when we go to other people's homes, we are respectful of their space. So you are just there to be respectful of their space, even if it does not look like something you would normally choose to live in. Let's see, what else? Oh, food. People ask me about food all the time. What these guys do is right before we go out for however long, they go to the grocery store and buy like literally thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of food, and they store it on the boat. Every boat I worked on, there was a really good cook, and they would just cook like totally bomb meals. But there are some boats that run off beef jerky and Pop-Tarts. So it just depends what your crew likes. Sometimes if you're nice, the crew will ask you like, oh, is there anything in particular you would want? And that's your time to tell them. Do tell them if they ask. And if they don't, you're just gonna be eating their food. Normally there is a cook on board, and he's a fisherman, so like if they're fishing, he'll come in a little bit early and start cooking the meal. Normally they have great meals. I gained 30 pounds on a boat, so beware. So what to expect, I said the cooks come in from fishing. I would say the guys, they pretty much fish around the clock. So it seems like they fish, take a 20-minute break, fish, take a 2-hour break, fish, take a 30-minute break, you know, whatever. They just fish, take anywhere from like a 30-minute to a 5-hour break, and then keep fishing. Insane, just over and over and over again. Oftentimes the captains won't tell you the plan of the day because they want to keep the guys motivated, and the guys don't do a regular sleeping pattern. As an observer, at least for me, I was expected to be on deck with the boys 25% of the time, I believe. Or, yeah, probably somewhere between 25% to 50% of the times the guys were fishing, I was supposed to be on board. And as an observer, you have a ton of paperwork to fill out. So the boys are gonna go out and start fishing. You'll go out there with a recorder, your recorder. So you're gonna record what you're saying. So you'll have like all your big gear on. You'll have like a winter shirt, a hoodie, your Grundens, and then you'll have in here in a Ziploc bag a voice recorder taped to your skin like this, and you'll be out there measuring crabs, kind of like talking into your jacket. So you're like, a king crab, male, 4 to 6 inches, and then move on. And so for 2 hours, you're just talking into your jacket, into the recorder to get all the information. Because what you're gonna have to do is after you're done going through everything, male or female, what type of crab, is there any diseases, if it's a female, how many eggs does she have, measuring the exact size of them, and they're all alive, and a king crab can break your finger if he pinches hard enough. And he can definitely rip a hole in your rain gear if he pinches hard enough. So you're out there, you do all your recording, you go back into the boat, and you have to listen to your recorder and fill out all the paperwork for it. So that's how it goes. So pretty much when the guys are fishing, you're either gonna be on the deck or you're gonna be inside listening to your recorder filling out the paperwork. And that's what happens the entire time. When you're on the deck, yes, it is dangerous. It is a working commercial boat. Someone did send me a message like, hey, how safe is it? Not that safe. It's a Bering Sea. I would say the sea, when I was out there, was anywhere from 7-foot to 40-foot waves. The 40-foot waves was an Arctic hurricane, so we weren't working, but the waves are a factor. On top of that, you're cold, you're wet, sometimes it snows on you, sometimes waves are breaking on you. I remember I was sitting with all my rain gear on, and it's pretty much like taped to you. Like, it's taped down on your wrists, taped down around your ankles, and I had taken my hood off for a second, and a wave crashed over the side of the boat and like filled it, and because I was sealed in so well, I just sat in that cold water and I had to like let it all out. So being cold is always a thing. And also the boat is full of, like, there's hydraulic cranes moving around, there's hydraulic tables moving around. The hydraulic gear is very dangerous. The boys will be very clear with you where's safe, where's not safe. You will quickly learn like where you can be at certain times and where you definitely should not be. Where you can be is a very limited place. The other thing that's super dangerous is the fishing gear that's moving around on the boat itself. I mean, whatever the guys are fishing with, it's dangerous, it's heavy, stay out of their way. So yes, it is very dangerous. I would say doing this job is dangerous for 2 reasons. Number one, being on a boat in the middle of the Bering Sea with hydraulic and fishing equipment, just not a safe scenario. And number 2, you are getting on a boat with 6 to 8 commercial fishermen that you've never met for potentially months at a time. Um, so it's super, super important to maintain like positive crew relationships. My goal was make them see me as like a daughter or like a bro, whatever best suit their personalities, what I wanted them to see myself as. You do not want to form any kind of relationship. I don't need to elaborate on that one. With these crew guys, it creates drama, it creates conflict, and you don't want those types of negative feelings flying around the boat. Trust me. Always be super nice, super respectful with them. Oftentimes, like when they would joke, I make jokes back. You want to be a part of them, but you also want to be respectful because this boat is their home. Like coming out and being like, oh, this is so disgusting. Oh, this is so dirty. Well, this is their home. You don't walk into people's homes and say that. If they're cooking, you say thank you. Just general manners, have them. They might be kind of rough and tough dudes, but manners always go a long way. With your captain, you want to be super respectful, super sweet. If he ever tells you something in confidence, do not repeat it to your boys. So yeah, that's basically how it goes. You get an interview, you fly to your training, you hope and pray that you pass your 2-week class. Once you do, you go to Dutch Harbor and you get your boat assignments where you just leave, do your work, come back, leave, do your work, come back, and it's awesome and it's fun, sort of. A lot of questions I get about is seasickness. I get very, very seasick. I have tried Dramamine, I've tried the patch, I've tried the anti-nausea bracelets, I've tried everything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, skip this part of the video. Dramamine is just gonna make you tired, and it honestly doesn't do a lot once the symptoms become that severe. The patches and the ginger pills, honestly, anytime I took a ginger pill, I puked. That could just be my body. I've heard the pressure point bracelets are more of a placebo effect. And then the last thing was, oh yeah, the patch. There is a medical patch you can have prescribed to you, and it goes behind your ear, and it's supposed to prevent seasickness, because seasickness usually has to do with an imbalance or some type of equalization balance issue within your ears. I do have ear issues, so that makes sense why I get so seasick. Now what this patch does do is it goes on for 3 days at a time. You take it off, another patch goes on for 3 days at a time. It gives you a super dry mouth, and it messes with your vision. So like, I have a hard time seeing things up close, so I do like a mom move. I'm like, oh, what is that? And you're gonna be measuring crabs and doing paperwork, so do with it what you will. I personally puked for 4 days straight, even when I had the patch on, so try it. I'm sorry, I hope it works for you. I drink a lot of soda, and the soda was probably the best thing for me. And honestly, just puking, I felt better after I puked a lot of the times. But I did puke for 4 days straight with pretty much it never stopped. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about was what you should pack. So what I did is I packed a blue duffel bag. It's probably, it was large, a large duffel bag, smaller than like an army surplus duffel bag, but I definitely saw those floating around some of the observers. I packed 2 pairs of leggings, 2 pairs of sweatpants, 2 pairs of fleece-lined leggings, 2 long sleeve like t-shirts, 2 athletic-y long sleeve shirts, 2 sweatshirts, a lot of socks and a lot of underwear, and then 2 beanies. Basically anything that comes on the boat, prepare for it to get trashed. It's going to be absolutely ruined because I was on a boat with all these guys, sharing rooms with them, and showering wasn't really a thing. I found that I literally wore the same exact clothes every single day for 2 weeks on one of my trips. I was so seasick that I wore the same leggings with sweatpants on top with my fuzzy socks every day. Trust me, you are going to smell so bad and no one is going to care. This is no like beauty show. I don't think I even brought jeans, if I'm going to be real. Bring a pair of shoes that are going to be comfortable for you to wear on the boat. I brought my Uggs. Bring a pair of shoes that you're going to be comfortable like walking around Dutch Harbor in. I brought my hiking boots. because you're going to be bringing a pillow, a sheet, and a sleeping bag, because you're going to have to set up a little bed for you on each boat you get into. So you're going to need all of that stuff along with all your like general hygiene stuff. You also want to pack yourself like a little first aid kit of sorts, because if you do get cut or injured out there, a big problem is athlete's foot. You're no medication when you're out there, and when you get to Dutch, it's going to be like 5 times the price as it is on the mainland. So bring whatever type of medicine you think you might need with you. Let me think. Is there anything else? No, there's not. That's kind of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Seriously, if you have any more questions about becoming an observer, please find my Instagram and message me. I'm at Blissful Biologist. Several people have done it. Nothing to be ashamed about. The one last thing I do want to say before I go is, a lot of people ask me, they're like, is this the thing to do to get a job? Do you feel like I should do this or get my master's? As a marine biologist, I did not get my master's. I got my undergraduate degree, worked 2 or 3 seasonal jobs, and this Alaska job was the last seasonal job I worked before getting full-time job offers. Every single full-time job offer I've gotten, they have expressed a ton of interest in the Alaska stuff. I think it was a huge benefit. You make money, you get life experiences, and you truly will never forget it. I have friends, fellow marine biologist friends, who chose to do graduate school instead of going to Alaska and doing the observer program. They have gotten the exact same jobs I have. So it's totally up to you. I was in Alaska for a season, so not even a full year. They did their master's for 2 years. It's whatever you want, it's whatever you feel most comfortable with, but that is what I will say is, my friends who got masters in marine biology and my friends like me or my other observer friends, we've gotten the same exact style job at the same pay. So the choice is up to you, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. Seriously, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. And if you were a teacher, I'm glad you listened. I hope you found this interesting. Bye, y'all.